Hey guys, this is SanchoWest. This is a very special project that I'm bringing to you. It is the rebirth of the CheckPoint Amigos podcast. I've been working extremely hard on this, so I just wanted to give you a little disclaimer on the video itself. It is going to be a video podcast eventually. We are working towards that, just baby steps. The first episode is just going to be mainly, we're going to show trailers and things like that, so you won't see us talking, my co-host and I, but I did as much as possible to make it entertaining for you to watch. If you're watching on YouTube, it'd probably be best just to have us on in the background and put on some headphones. Also, regarding the audio, this microphone, of course, is connected to an audio board. The microphone that we used for Dr. Bacon was this Blue Yeti. However, the Blue Yeti was connected via USB, so you won't hear the same quality of sound. And on top of that, it made it very difficult for me to edit. So I did my best to save the episode. The one thing that I want to point out to you guys is that I easily could have scrapped this because it wasn't perfect, but I really believe in doing something and giving yourself a deadline and doing it and then working towards perfection as you go along. So if you leave any comments regarding the audio, things like that in the video, we know, and we're going to work on it. And we open up the floor for any other comments regarding the content and flow of the show, things like that. So I really do appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much for supporting me, and I hope you enjoy I think the third episode of the relaunch of CheckPoint Amigos podcast, your weekly checkpoint for your nerdy lives. Enjoy the show. What's up, everybody? This is SanchoWest, and welcome to the third ever CheckPoint Amigos! This is your weekly checkpoint save for your nerdy lives. I am SanchoWest, and we are the CheckPoint Amigos, and I have a special guest with me. Actually, more of a co-host. You're going to be my co-host. This is Dr. Bacon. For those of you who don't remember, Dr. Bacon was in the CheckPoint Amigos podcast number 2 featuring the CheckPoint Amigos Nintendo E3 breakdown. That was like 2 years ago.
We're old people now.
That was a long time ago, but he also was featured in Dead Island's playthroughs and whatnot, but
before he had to take those down.
I had to take those down because I did the back. Anyway, long story, but guys, this is going to be the weekly podcast. We're going to do our best to do weekly podcast, bringing you everything that we love to talk about, video games, movies, all those kinds of things, and my main mission is to help you catch up on all the things that happen throughout the week and to give you things to look forward to. So it's going to be awesome. I love this format. We've been working on it, curating it.
You've been doing most of the work. I've just been like, yeah, it looks great.
Hey, sometimes you need a thumbs up in life. But here we are, guys. We got a lot of fun segments. We're going to have these meaty topics, which we call the save segment. And then we're going to have the weekly checkpoint, which is the news. And then we're going to have things that we're looking forward to in the future and things that we recommend. All the lovely things that podcasts have. But it's going to be SanchoWest style. And it's definitely going to be CheckPoint Amigo style. For those of you interested, yes, you may be writing down, Sancho, you're going to need a video. Yes, video podcasts are coming.
Coming soon,
but baby steps. That's all we're taking is little baby steps, and we'll get all that situated for you. But for now, if you want to listen to the podcast, you could go ahead and watch the YouTube version. We're going to have some videos, things like that, trailers playing as best as we can. And then if you want the audio-only version, you can go ahead on the SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/SanchoWest, and you can download it and listen to your cars on your morning commute.
Listen to your cars?
Yes, listen to your cars. Actually, that will be in the podcast later. Speaking of cars, speaking of Pixar, put a pin in that. All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead into a segment that we like to call the save segment. Wow.
No sound effect.
No sound effect. Well, maybe. Save segment. So these are the meaty topics that we want to get into, that we have an itching and a desire to talk about. And one of them is the reason why we brought this podcast back. We're like, man, we got to talk about that. We got to let the people know what's going down in our worlds. But the first one we want to talk about, I was rolling around the internet, Dr. Bacon, and I saw this article coming from Matthew Kato at Game Informer, and he writes an opinion, like an opinion piece called Stop Selling Unfinished Games. I'm just going to go ahead and read a little excerpt of that. Quote, Star Wars Battlefront came out with 13 maps and spread over 4 locations, leaving gamers wanting more. This foundation is being built upon throughout the year with 2 additional planets, maps, heroes, and more features. Considering the title's gameplay isn't super deep, had the map shipped with the game to begin with would at least give players more to chew on instead of them quickly growing tired of the same locations. And then he goes on to say, Dr. Bacon, he says that basically, he says, in the case of Star Wars, some of this free content being put out after the fact is coming more than 6 months after the game's release. But by the time I'm often not playing the game, making the initial promise worth nothing. So to wrap up this article, that you could go ahead, all the articles that we bring up in the podcast will be in the description, so you can read it for yourself. It's a great read. But essentially he's saying, is it worth buying a game at the release date, knowing that developers tend not to put a lot of meat on the bone?
Yeah, it's a very difficult topic. I'll give you an example of a game that actually does it well, and it's actually a game we're going to cover later because they had a couple of missteps in a different area. Arkham Knight. The Arkham series from Rocksteady. Arkham Knight did a great job because when the game came out, it was the full game, the full story was there. Their DLC were challenge maps, different costumes, stuff like that for video games. I think is a great marketing idea, and it's a great way for them to get a little extra money or maybe provide free when you pre-order, that kind of thing. And I apologize, I'm blanking on a bad example. But like you said, for like Battlefront, I personally haven't played it, but it's mostly because of that whole the whole story isn't there. Oh, there's more coming with DLC. We're just going to give you what we have now. No, that's why you postpone the release dates, like they did with Arkham Knight. They knew they didn't have the finished game there, and of course it didn't really finish for the PC and Mac, but we'll get into that later. But again, don't release something if it's not full. When we were little, we didn't pay $50 to play Metroid and only play Brinstar. We got the whole game and we paid for it.
Well, that definitely does bring up a point, though. I mean, in this day and age, they have the ability to add patches, to add DLC, to make a game's the shelf life of a game last longer. Going back to the article, he wrote that, quote, as a consumer, in these cases, it'd be tough to know what I'm getting when I put down my $60 on launch day, even if there are promises quickly made that new content will come later to flesh out the experience. He says, do I pay the money up front with the hope that it will get better? What if I don't like the new map or whatever when it's finally announced? When everything is there on launch day, I could be more accurately judge that the content is worth it, even if I'm patient and allow the title to get better. So what he's saying is, the way I relate to it, now I'm going to talk about Battlefront because that's the example that he uses. Now, I really defended Battlefront when it first came out. Everybody was saying, this is a unfinished game, that it's an unfinished game and you're paying way too much. Right. So here's the thing. I argue that the $60 that I paid on launch day is not for the game itself. Now, we're going to kind of stumble on to another topic, but I understood that $60 was for the license of Star Wars. I was paying for all this engine, the sound, the costumes, the characters, the Star Wars franchise license, because it's not cheap for somebody to spend all that money.
So you mean you thought you were paying for future DLC?
I knew ahead of time that I was not paying for a full-fledged game, which is blasphemous to say. But the thing is, I bought the season pass on top of that. So you could say I spent $100 on this game up front, knowing that I wasn't getting a complete package. Here's the thing that my point that I was getting to. When would it happen when the developers decide we need to start charging $60 or more for our product? Would you be down for buying a game more than $60 in the future, knowing that you could get a full, complete package like you were talking about with Batman Arkham Knight?
Well, if they're not, when you say that the full package, if you mean as in I would pay the full 100 up front because, without saying that the season pass is already part of it, it depends. I would have to look into, one, the game itself, whether it's based on something I like maybe they come out with a Game of Thrones game, not the Telltale version, but, a disc-based version, something like that where I know, book 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, they're all going to come out soon. Yeah, I'll pay for that. Or if it's something I've never heard of from a studio I'm not familiar with, it's going to sound very suspicious to me. They're like, oh, here, pay for what we have. There's more.
Right.
We promise you there's more. If they're not going to tell me what else is coming, especially if they're not going to tell me what else is coming, then no, I'm not going to pay that much. But if I know the experience is worth it, then yeah, I might dish out $100 for that.
A lot of people already are. I feel like a lot of people already are throwing $100.
Whether they admit it or not.
Right. And I mean, that's a third of the console price. But I think another thing is that this is just something that console players are not used to. PC players are used to paying early access money for games that are not finished, for games that they know they'll get more content on. And so they pay early access prices, and then later on they pay the full boat in some cases. So maybe, I hate to say this, but maybe this is where console gaming is going, to this early access type model where you pay the full boat and then you know that later on they're going to keep adding on because with your support. But I think it's really definitely inexcusable for like EA to do this, because I feel like Battlefront, it wasn't finished, because how would this explain Jedi Luke wearing the black attire on Hoth and then later they release his Hoth gear? That doesn't make sense. Like, that's to me that says like his Hoth gear wasn't ready for launch, and then they were working on it, and then it's like, oh, by the way, here's your free Luke Hoth gear, which looks awesome, by the way, because he has that blue lightsaber. But it's just a very touchy. We're in a weird place for console gamers, because like we always want more, but then we don't like being slighted, or we don't like feeling this taken advantage of, because this whole day one DLC thing, this whole season pass, those are very taboo words for a console gamer.
I'll give you a great analogy for this in terms of whether I pay $60 or $100. When I buy a Blu-ray, whether or not it comes with extras is a chance I'm going to take, because I'm paying for the movie. I'm not paying for the extras. I'm not going to pay for Avengers and have it stop, at the third act, and then have two extra behind-the-scenes features. I'm like, no, that's not what I'm paying for. I'm paying for the full movie. I love extras, but initially what I'm paying for is the full movie. Don't worry about this other stuff till you get the full movie done.
Well, my question would be is how to wrap this little topic up. How many season passes have you bought in your gamer lifetime?
Ooh, I've lost track in terms of in my gaming lifetime, but I don't. If games have come out with more than one season pass per game, I wouldn't say I've bought more than one per.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've only bought one per game. I can't. It's probably going to come back to me later, but I know there was one game that I bought, and I bought it. I pre-ordered it, and it was a special edition, but the special edition didn't come with the season pass, and I still had to pay even more for that. And in this day and age, especially now, almost all special editions, limited editions, or whatever, they include the season pass. So, and this was around that time, so I was saying maybe 2 years ago. When that happened, I don't think I even played the game yet. And I was just angry that I paid probably around $90, and it didn't come with a season pass.
Follow-up question, just speaking of the $90, what's the most you've spent on a single game? Because I mean, admittedly, I spent I bought the game NBA 2K14 for $60, and then I bought all the VC currency, the in-game currency. I ended up spending another $60 at least. So I invested $150 or so into that game, mindlessly.
In terms of,
I mean, granted,
I don't remember how much it was, but I think it's one of two, depending on what you define as my answer. Either one of the Arkham Knight games, Arkham series games. I think the one that no one likes, Arkham Origins. I think that was the most expensive because of that big Joker maquette that came with it. Although the Joker, the little prop that came with it was pretty awesome. But I know the most money I spent on a game was for Destiny. And this is also a topic coming later because I already had a PS4. But when The Taken King came out, they came with a special edition PS4. And so I bought that special edition bundle because I really liked that PlayStation 4 case. So if you're including bundles in that, that's the most I've had. That's the most I paid because I already had a PS4 before that.
What's interesting is you did uncover something that, as a Destiny player, I mean, I try to get into it. You definitely are much more of a Destiny player than I am. As a player, a fan of that franchise, do you feel that the first year of Destiny felt like an alpha and that Taken King, that experience was actually what they wanted.
For me, it's hard to say because going into that game was not what I expected. Uh, I did not know I was purchasing a massive multiplayer online game. I thought I was getting just a first-person shooter that looked really cool. So when I finally, I say finally, like it took me forever, when I beat the game in the very short amount of time that it takes you to beat the main storyline when you first bought it, I felt a little slighted. I was like, wow, that was way too quick of a game for how much this cost. And then my buddy Austin told me, like, no, for games like this, he compared it to WoW on the PC, and like that's what you pay for. You're paying for increments of a game. You got to know what you're getting into. That's why that's why games like WoW appeal to a certain type of people, because they know they're going to be continually paying for it. And once I drank that Kool-Aid for Destiny, I got into it because he was telling me a big part of it, especially for WoW, was like playing online with your friends. And I was never big into that. I always hated playing online with people. And then I met a couple of people through Austin. And I would say out of the clan I'm in, Jenkins Brigade, I would say about 80% of them I did not know before the game. And now I gladly call them some of my closest friends. We meet at least once a year for our clan anniversary. And because of them, I really love the game. And I would gladly continue to pay more for it, even if they stop with the DLC this year and come out with the sequel for the game. Even though, from what I remember originally, I want to say they said this game was going to go on for at least 5 years before the sequel came out, and I'm okay with that. I think I answered your question.
You kind of got very nostalgic. Kind of went down memory lane with Destiny, with your clan anniversary. Beautiful story, by the way. The thing is, like, you got $60 for Destiny, and then the House of Wolves DLC, which was what, $20?
Yeah. Well, I also got the season pass, so I didn't have to pay for those.
And the season pass was like $30.
I believe so. And House of Wolves was fun. Yeah, no, I remember Taken King. Yeah, a lot of my clan were saying along those lines that they felt that this is what the game was supposed to be. I just felt it, in terms of story, that's where they were hoping to take it, but there was a lot of gameplay tweaking. And for me, it's hard to say because, like I said, it was my first time getting into that type of massive multiplayer online stuff. So I didn't really know. I had really nothing to compare it to other than like, oh, it just felt like they put in some patches for a first-person shooter.
The big thing is, like, to wrap this one up with a nice little bow, do you feel that in this day and age that we will see games that are worth, will a publisher step up or developer say our game's worth more than $60 and we're going to charge more up front, but you're going to get everything? You think that will be acceptable? I mean, I feel like that's where we're headed.
I see a lot of studios doing that. I do not think it will be acceptable, but it depends on their pitch. If they sell it right, they might, some studio out there might change my feeling on that. And where we stand right now with DLC being pretty much a debacle, I do not think it is acceptable.
Exactly. We'll see. I mean, I'm definitely interested in Naughty Dog's DLC for Uncharted 4. They already said there's going to be a single-player experience or DLC, and they already said they haven't written it, and we'll see where that goes. So we'll see what the big dogs, no pun intended, do with this whole DLC platform. The bottom line is we definitely have to pay attention, and it's hard. I was a sucker for Battlefront. I love Battlefront. I love Star Wars, and I do feel like it was an unfinished game, but I did understand that I was not getting a full-fledged game, and I was buying into the experience, more of like a thumbs up, you're going the right direction type of deal, and I'm excited to see the rest of the planets, but I think it's a case-by-case scenario.
You know who's good at releasing games, whether it be the full game and you pay the full amount, or here's the game, you pay the full amount, and we're going to give you some stuff later that you will pay for in terms of DLC. I think you might get some haters on this, but Nintendo. Look at the Zelda games. Look at the Mario games. You're paying for the full game. There's never any DLC. They might change that later, but they have a game like Super Smash Brothers. You paid for the full game. For Mario Kart, you paid for the full game, and the extras that come in later are new fighters that maybe they didn't even plan on getting, or they planned to have, like, yeah, you'll get Bayonetta towards the end. But not only that, they know they're losing their market, so they're really trying hard. I think they're doing a valiant effort considering. Hopefully, the NX will bring them back from the brink, but they're doing something I haven't seen other studios do, and maybe they're doing it, and I'm not really paying a good attention to it. But for like Super Smash Brothers, this last DLC that came out, they're saying this is the last DLC that's coming out for it. So people, they know what they're going to pay for, as opposed to like, oh, bad example, Taken King. Someone pays for a season pass thinking they're going to get a lot more when it could feasibly be the last big DLC that's going to drop for Destiny. Until all these studios come up with a better game plan in terms of like, you're paying for this amount, for this much of the game, DLC is coming. We'll tell you when the DLC will stop, so you can not worry about how much more you're going to have to pay to get either the rest of the game and know the rest of the story, or just get these extra stuff that you'd like, different costumes.
I agree. It's all about positioning, and it's all about being upfront, being transparent. Because for me, I'm an adult gamer, so it's like the money doesn't hurt me, but it would suck if I was a kid growing up, and then you barely convinced your mother, like, hey, or your mom and dad, you're like, hey, give me that $60 game. Oh, by the way, they released more. It's $20. Oh, that's another $10. And it's like, oh, it's bad. It's already bad enough dealing with my wife. So that was the first segment of the save. Getting off that subject, we're going to go into the second half. We're going to step out of the gaming world and go into something that we really do love, which is movies. We're big movies aficionados here. And this is the topic that brought us back together for CheckPoint Amigos. Dr. Bacon moved from Texas all the way to California for this point. Exactly. Just for this point. He ripped up his life to sold all his stuff and moved out to Cali, not to chase the dream, living in the cabin down by the LA River. But here's something that when we talked about this in private, it was like, man, this is a good question, and this is a huge question. It stemmed from the thing with Star Wars: The Force Awakens came out, but a little bit before that, there was a movie called Creed, which is a continuation of the Rocky franchise, and of course, these two movies, we decided, let's put them together. What's the better movie, Creed or Star Wars: The Force Awakens? And after we saw them, we didn't see the movie together. I only saw the movie twice. But after you saw it the first time, you weren't so enamored with it. You had some issues with it.
I walked away a little disappointed with, I was okay with the references to A New Hope. I understand them after reading a whole bunch of articles on why it needed to be like that. I understood it. I ended up being okay with it. I liked the movie. I didn't love it the way I was hoping to. Now, granted, after not, warning, we may get into spoilers. After letting it sink in and not worrying about the comparisons, the second time I was able to enjoy it a little bit more, caught a few things here and there. JJ put a little more lens flare in it than he said he would. But the third time I went, I loved it. All the emotional beats hit me a lot harder that time. I was able to appreciate it more. I just think it sucks that I had to see it 3 times to get the appreciation out of it that so many others have gotten. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I love the movie. I love the franchise. Even if I loved it to begin with, I still would have seen it 3 times. I just, Star Wars shouldn't be something that has to grow on me at this point in my life. I should automatically love it. And, and also part of it is just fanboy expectation.
Right. And here's the other side of that coin. Now, Star Wars going into it, of course, is big hype machine, fantastic trailers, awesome, just like you just felt it in your bones, and it's rare for a trailer to do that. And as soon as you saw that first trailer, you're like, man, JJ, you got us, man. You got Star Wars. You got the feeling. You know the tone of the movies. And so this movie had the responsibility of not only picking up right after Return of the Jedi, but resurrecting, saving a franchise from somewhere that, the what's the word I'm looking for? The previous trilogy, the prequels, kind of brought it down to this level. So Force Awakens had this big responsibility of not only continuing the franchise, but carrying the torch as well, but not letting the franchise down, hitting that beat.
Reassuring the fans, we can return to our former glory.
Right, saying I got you. Yeah. On the other side of the ring.
I see what you did there.
On the other side of the ring, you have Creed, a movie that basically came out of nowhere. Yep. I mean, I started hearing rumblings about it, and I was like, wow, okay, there's going to be a movie featuring Rocky, and he's not the main character. He's actually training Apollo's Creed's son. Man, I'm forgetting his name right now. Apollo Creed's son. Anyway, he's training his son, Creed, and you're like, Adonis. That's a good name. Yep. That was a good Adonis. They call him Donnie or something. Anyway, Adonis, he's going to train his son, Adonis Creed, and you're like, that is amazing. And Sylvester Stallone's not writing it, and Sylvester Stallone's didn't direct it. So this is the first time that Stallone could actually focus on being Rocky. And so the whole time, now I'm on the same level of a fanboy as Star Wars. I love them to death. They're part of my DNA. Like if you went ahead and got inside my soul, you will see a Rocky poster and a lightsaber side by side. And so I went into Creed with the same expectations, and it had the same thing. It was hitting the same notes. It was following the same beats. But I know it handled it so much better than Star Wars The Force Awakens.
Creed was able to refer back to the original in a way Star Wars couldn't. Creed hit all the emotional tones and beats the first one did with similar situations, as opposed to Star Wars, where it was almost beat by beat, same thing. But not only that, they were even kind of like, hey, remember when we did this? Which, one or two jokes here and there I'm okay with, but there were too many references. And when you get to the point where even one of your characters is making fun of it, like, yeah, we did this already, when they're talking about the planet as opposed to Death Star, the Starkiller base. Just find a ventilation shaft. That's what we did last time. When you're outright making that joke, I think you should realize maybe do a little bit of rewriting there.
Exactly. And that's the thing with Creed. Creed was the same thing. Like, knowing it's a Rocky moment, you know there's going to be a montage. Yep. You know there's going to be an antagonist. You know that the main protagonist, whether it's Rocky or Adonis, is going to overcome the odds, and that the odds are himself. And it's not about winning, it's about going to distance. So you know those themes are going to be there, and you know there's going to be love interest. And it was basically Rocky 1, but in a new spin on it, as we're saying. But when I was watching it, I was like, okay, where's the running up the steps? I'm waiting for running up the steps. They didn't give it to me. I'm like, okay. And then, I mean, we thought we were going to get it.
And you know what was great about that? I know where you're going, but what was great about that is they were leading up to it in such a way you were emotionally getting invested, thinking like, oh, they're going to get me and go back and recreate this for me.
Right. And that's the thing that Star Wars didn't take that advantage of. Star Wars kind of like was like, oh, we got to hit these points and we're going to hit it. And I know I'm being very nitpicky, okay, and I know I'm just... Don't get us wrong. We love both movies, but this is a very fascinating debate because they both had the same task, but I think Creed just did it more masterfully than Star Wars. But there's a moment in Star Wars where at the end it's just like boom, 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 and there's not a moment for me to breathe or to take things in. There's like a moment that affects you really hard, and you want to sit in that moment, and then the editing cuts to the immediate next scene, and you're just like, wait a minute, I want to go back to this other moment. What was happening? And I think Creed handled that so beautifully, in that if you guys think about it, the music, the when that Rocky music hits in the fight, the last fight, you're just like, it just chills you.
It pulled you in.
It pulled you in, and even Creed, he went down just like Rocky did, and he had that moment just like in Rocky 6 actually as well as Rocky Balboa. And you're sitting there like, I don't think of that. I don't think these things because I'm totally invested in this new character. And they actually added new spins, and you got to learn more about Rocky. Like, Rocky had more emotional depth to him, that he was struggling with this whole point of being alive, and everything in his world was dying off. His friends, his wife, his career. And so all these things are dying off. And then he faces his own challenge. And I mean, like, all these things, you're like, wow. that was amazing. And then on the flip side, Star Wars, you're like, oh, there's Han. Han's awesome. I love Han, but he's just regular old Han. You know, we don't really explore how deep Han could go. And I mean, it kind of wanted to. It almost wanted to, but it just couldn't because it flashed forward to other things.
And one of the things I think hurt it, JJ was setting things up for this new trilogy,
right?
Which we totally get. But you know, there are times where it's like, can we focus a little bit on the characters?
I kind of wish that J.J. Abrams was tasked to do the rest of them. That way, you know, he could have commit more, maybe, you know, did his thing a little bit better. Because it's hard. I guess you're right. I mean, I don't think Creed had the responsibility to setting up for it. I think it was a happy accident that we're going to get more Creed. Considering where the story left off, I'm excited for more Creed because I think that's a great hero to identify with in this generation. And it's a great way for Rocky to be around as well, to be the new trainer. But in the end, I know just on those merits, not talking about acting, performances, or quality I'm just by handling that task of carrying the torch and setting up the audience for more Creed or more movies. I think Creed definitely handled it a lot better, just by like a star, like an entire star.
This was the way I put it. I would rather sit through Creed where I realized the similarities between that and the first Rocky after the movie, as opposed to A Force Awakens where all I could do was focus on how similar it was during the movie, and that became a distraction to me. I personally couldn't invest myself into the movie and enjoy it as much as I should have, as much as I did the third time I saw it, because I was too busy nitpicking, thinking, oh, this is going to happen. Oh, they're trusting the plans to a droid. Okay, this is A New Hope 2.0.
That's right. Like, all of a sudden, you're like, man, there are 5 for 5 on hitting all the beats.
The only thing they didn't have was the award ceremony at the end.
But no, I mean, I think that's a great point, because you and we're both theater kids, and we like that moment of you making the audience go one way and then that misdirection. And if Star Wars had more misdirections along the way, then I would have been more, you know, off kilter the whole way and probably engrossed myself in it. Because by the second act or so, as I get into it, you're like, you know exactly where the story's going to go. Yeah. As soon as they set the table for you, you're like, oh, okay, I know. It's like Mousetrap. You know, they set the table, they set all the traps. Oh, okay, I know how exactly this thing's going to go. You knock over this domino and all that was going to go boom, 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 boom. But for Creed, it constantly threw you off just a little bit, enough for you to be like, what's happened? Right. Yeah. Edge of the seat action. So that's going to wrap up this save segment, and we're going to move on to the checkpoint of the week. So this is basically all the past events for you to catch up on. It's going to be like a Blitz News action here for your nerdy life. We're going to go ahead and start off right out the gate. This is just dropped this almost on Friday. This comes from the PlayStation blog. It says, Fight to the Death shooter H1Z1 King of the Kill hits PlayStation 4 this summer. For those of you who don't know, H1Z1 has been on PC for a long time in early access, and it was always announced that it will hit the PlayStation eventually. But now the Daybreak Games decided to split this apart, and now they're going to have the Survival Edition, and they're going to have King of the Kill, which is essentially a multiplayer version. Let's go into the blog real quick. This comes from Greg Henninger. He says, you drop into high-intensity arena style. Almost read this like Macho Man. Oh, yeah, you drop into high-intensity arena-style grudge match. You activate your inner beast mode. Gear up fast. Throw together a game plan. Jump into the fray, ready to see if you have what it takes to be in the last man standing. Whether you're racking up a kill streak or just adding to the chaos, you're ready to spill blood. After all, dying is for losers. That's pretty harsh. Dying. I always say dying in games is a learning opportunity. Welcome to H1Z1 King of the Kill, coming to the PlayStation 4 this summer. So, long story short, this started off as a special game. Some gamer essentially started a game within a game, and then all of a sudden the community started doing it, and just grew, and then the developer said, let's split this up. If you're familiar with H1Z1, there's a big battle royale. It's kind of like Hunger Games. H1Z1 is amazing. That's going to come soon to the summer. If you are a H1Z1, you've already bought the early access, don't worry. On February 17th, you're going to automatically get the split. If you haven't bought H1Z1, now is the time to do it before they split that apart. It's very cheap. It's very affordable. Apologies, I don't have the price. But I'm a big fan of H1Z1. Have you ever checked out H1Z1?
I never even heard of it before you told me about this link.
It's fantastic. I mean, it's very weird. It's very surreal. I mean, the mechanics are not that great. It's not polished. It's just more the concept of being like thrown in like with 100 players or so, and then people start dying, and then
I saw a couple of pictures in the article you linked to me,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna check it out. Look up some YouTube videos of it, see if I want to play it.
It's pretty cool. I mean, the only thing I wish is the multiplayer aspect. If you're gonna do multiplayer that involves gun battles, and especially in third-person shooters, you gotta make sure your mechanics are sound, because I don't like dying because the game. Right. Right. I mean, yeah. I mean, definitely. I'd rather have myself. I mean, it's a great game. I love H1Z1. I haven't won a battle royale. I came close. Top four. Okay, I'm top 4. But maybe we will bring H1Z1 to the masses, to SanchoWest Gaming. That is gonna be. It's a fun game, and then you could join me. You could check that out. It's very fun. Very awesome. Next story. Warner Brothers. Speaking of Warner Brothers, cancels Batman Arkham Knight for Mac and Linux. So after the whole PC debacle, they went ahead and canceled the Mac and Linux version. This comes from a Engadget article from Nathan Ingraham. I don't know why I struggled with that. Ingraham. Checkered Past makes today news not entirely shocking. Warner Brothers has decided to cancel Arkham Knight for Mac and Linux gamers. Those who pre-order the game will of course receive refunds. But it's just another example of how badly the game's computer launch has been handled. Now, in a previous life, Dr. Bacon, were you a PC gamer? You had a big rig back in the day.
I had a rig, but I didn't really play many games. It was just because I would do a lot of voice recording, and because of that, and my attention span with the internet, I always had a bunch of windows open. So it was just a matter of my computer keeping up with me. The only game I ever really played on the PC was 3 games: Day of the Tentacle, Command and Conquer, and Sam & Max. Other than that, I never really played any computer games.
I mean, I'm not trying to make this a PC versus console gamers war. No. It's just a bummer.
It is a bummer, but it says here that it wasn't handled well. I think they handled a bad situation well.
Right.
It's going to suck for the Mac and Linux users, but I think it's very honest of Rocksteady to come out and say, like, you know what, it's going to be a bad experience. We'll just give you your money back. You saw what happened with PC. We don't want to go through that again.
To speak frankly, if you're a PC gamer, you wouldn't really have a Mac, though. That's not the place to play video games. If you want to fully enjoy games, you would be a PC guy. That way you can enjoy
Agreed. But there are people out there who are loyal to their Apple. So that's just a bummer. I mean, that's just if you want to know what's happening with Batman Arkham Knight. It's probably one of the worst PC ports ever. Granted, Warner Brothers Interactive did not handle that port. They did put it out. They gave it to someone outside of their house. And, it's a shame. It's just a shame. Now, next story. This is a big story for Dr. Bacon. He's a big DC guy. Supergirl versus Flash, or the crossover, happens. They announced it in a Warner Brothers press release. This comes from an article in Gizmodo from Rob Bricken. Really struggling with names today. Today. According to the press release, The Flash, Grant Gustin will be guest starring on Supergirl from Melissa Benoist. I got that name right. There are no other details as of yet, including whether Melissa Benoist, you gotta say it that way, will return the favor on the CW show at a later date. So basically, The Flash is appearing on Supergirl, and they have the title of this episode, World's Finest. World's plural.
World's plural.
Plural.
Finest.
To emphasize what a lot of people are already speculating, where it's going with the multiverse.
I'm not an expert in this, and I will leave the table to you to go ahead. What's your reaction to this news?
My reaction is I'm not surprised. And I said this a long time ago. Sancho and I run a Facebook group, Nerd Geeks, Dorks, etc. Feel free to check us out. And I posted a review of the pilot episode way back when. And I even said it back then because CBS, I think it was their president, said, we're not going to do any crossovers. We are not going to cross over with other networks.
But they share the same executive producer.
They do. Even though he was voting for it, and they even did a cover with him and Grant and Melissa. to kind of hopefully garner some interest in that with CBS. But I knew from then, I said from the pilot, it's not that great a show. I mean, and I like CBS. Don't get me wrong. I love Hawaii Five-0. I watch a couple of CBS shows. Considering their demographic and how CBS writers write for their demographic, it's not a great show. But for a CBS show, it's a good CBS show. Their graphics, their effects aren't that great. There's too much drama between. It's a little too emotional drama between Supergirl and some of the other characters.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I knew off the bat that their ratings were not going to be that great, and they were eventually going to give in and say, maybe we should bring in Grant Gustin. And that's part of, to back that up, that's part of the whole why that article says, Grant's going to show up on Supergirl, not the other way. For the fans, it's a great thing that's going to happen, but for CBS, it's an effort to hopefully boost their ratings to continue the show. And I think it's also a great opportunity to really go into this multiple Earth situation, because I was saying back when they cast, I forget his name, Ezra, for the Flash in the Justice League movie, a lot of people were complaining that it wasn't Grant Gustin. And I said, you know what, this only says we can do the multiple Earth thing, because, and I think that's a great idea, because as much as I love the Marvel movies, their TV shows, as good as they can be, they're not linking well with the movie universe. And I think they should be separate. Mm. And so I think DC's going a smarter route that way, if that's what they're purposely doing, to maybe sometime down the line bring in those universes and have them meet up. Who knows? Maybe we'll have Michael Keaton show up as Batman again.
The Keats.
Yeah, we've already had some other people saying that's a possibility, and I agree, that is a possibility. Hopefully, it's something they'll think about, because I would love to see a Dark Knight, old grizzled Michael Keaton Batman.
I would flip. That would be ridiculous. Honestly, though, I mean, you may be right, but go ahead and explain, because I mean, I'm not understanding multi-Earth. What's that about?
Different universes. So at the end of the Flash season 1, he to fix the disaster that was happening, he had to go super fast, and they created a wormhole that opened up to an alternate universe, to an Earth 2, as they're calling it, and this is potentially leading up to the Crisis on Infinite Earths, which was a big storyline in DC Comics, which they wrote essentially to fix up a lot of continuity errors. And so there were different... So what they were saying, like, oh, the continuity was different there because it was actually a different Earth. It wasn't this Earth. There's a different version of Flash out there somewhere. And so that's why, you know, his Iris West is still alive as opposed to this Iris West who died, blah, 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 that kind of thing. So, you know, I think the Flash TV series is leading to that, but that's where the whole multiple Earth situation is. And, you know, Marvel kind of has the same situation, too, with their multiverse going on.
I honestly, the biggest thing, though, I could take away from this is I wish the other networks would take a page from this and say, if CBS is willing to partner up with Warner Brothers to make the franchise better and to make their fans happier, then why not Marvel and Fox work together? Because it really bugged me for the longest time that there was the Marvel movies, they could not say mutant for the longest time because Fox owned the right to the word mutant. And so they had to say other beings or super, or, you know, so that really bothered me when you have Magneto's children and they can't really say these names because they're tied up in lawyer mumbo jumbo.
As much as I agree with you, the weird part for me about that is when I was growing up...
I'm talking about Age of Ultron, by the way.
When I was growing up, I knew X-Men were part of the Marvel Universe, but the way their stories were written back in the day, I always considered X-Men kind of their own universe away from the rest of the Marvel Universe. So I'm kind of okay with it, because on top of... because of my childhood thinking they were separate already... If Marvel had the rights to begin with, we might not have gotten Guardians of the Galaxy. We might not even have a Jessica Jones TV show or Daredevil, because they're D-list characters. Mm. So as much as it sucks that it happened, I think it's okay. I'm kind of okay with it. I'd love for them to come back together, Hopefully Age of Apocalypse is going to be awesome. I think Daredevil is going to be fantastic. I think they're actually doing something extremely right. Not only just right, they're going way super right. I don't know how to explain it better than that, but it seems like they're really investing in Daredevil. In Deadpool at least, and that one's going to come out being a winner finally for Fox.
Awesome. Next story: PlayStation's Uncharted 4 Limited Edition hits the shelves on April 26th. This comes from the PlayStation blog as well. It comes from John Kohler. To commemorate Uncharted 4's April 26th release date, we're rolling out the red blue carpet with a special limited edition. They're so corny at the PlayStation blog. Uncharted 4 PlayStation 4 bundle. Unlike Nathan Drake, you don't need to trek through Madagascar to find this treasure. Just pick up one in the United States and Canada's on April 26th for $399. Here's a picture of it. This bundle includes a limited edition 500 gig in gray blue PlayStation 4 featuring a silkscreen image of Nathan Drake as well as matching DualShock 4 and a copy of Uncharted 4 at Thieves and on Blu-ray. The limited edition PlayStation 4 also features the PlayStation logo, Uncharted logo on the face, Sic Parvis Magna in gold, which is Latin for greatness from small beginnings, and is the same phrase engraved on Drake's ring. So it looks cool. I love the gray on blue. It looks sexy. I like it. But you kind of touched on this earlier. I like my console. It's my launch day console. I just don't have the cash. I might buy the controller because I see the controller a lot and I love holding. And I go through so many controllers. I do. I have like 2 dead ones here. Anyway, what's your thoughts on this limited edition things? You explain it. Go a little bit more why you bought the Destiny limited edition.
I think part of it is these bundles, these special edition bundles, aren't for new players. They're for people who are hardcore fans of the franchise. I don't think there were many people who were new to PS4 like, oh, let me get this bundle here, unless it was just a better deal they found somewhere. But for Destiny hardcore fans like myself, I saw that PS4 design. I said to myself, I gotta have that. I can't afford it, but I gotta have it. Yeah. So I think if you're that much of a fan of the franchise, then yeah, it's totally worth it. One downside to it, I didn't get all the extras I thought I was going to be getting because there was that bundle, but there was also some weird Ultimate Special Edition Gold Limited Edition version of the Taken King that had a couple of extra, just fun props or trinkets that came with it. Like there was a golden coin or a stranger's coin that came with it and stuff like that. I thought that was coming with it too, but it didn't. But I'm still happy with the purchase I made for that.
The only special edition thing or the limited edition PlayStation 4 I wanted was a Taco Bell Gold one. I tried.
But you had to win that one. You didn't, well, yeah.
I had to buy 2 Quesarito boxes, and I didn't win. It would have been nice. I like gold.
I like when they come out with special edition controllers, too. I bought the PS the 20th edition, or 20th anniversary controller, yeah. Still haven't opened it.
Really?
Yeah. Because my Destiny controller has not crapped out on me to a point where, okay, time to switch controllers. It's lasted me my full playthroughs so far.
So that's if you're interested in Uncharted 4. It comes out April 26th, and it looks great to me. Moving on to the next news. Doom. Wow. Doom released a trailer, and it is amazing. I will go ahead and talk about this bad boy because I'm a big fan of Doom, and it looks good. It's so gritty looking, but what I'm excited about is first-person shooters are cool and all, but we've been watching first-person shooters, and they end up just all military. I love Doom. I remember playing Doom when I was a kid.
You remember the movie?
With The Rock. The coolest part of that movie was that first-person shooter part. I know it was corny, but it worked for me. And then I just like the BMG, all those references and all those kinds of things. I'm very excited. It's going to come out in May. I think that this is what gamers need after the success of Wolfenstein. I
think I might actually get it. I've never played a Doom game. I think I might get this one.
You have to, man. Doom is like the granddaddy of them all. Now, I really hope it's not a Duke Nukem situation.
Oh, please don't. Please don't.
You see, Duke Nukem is a very dated game, but I think the reason why Duke Nukem doesn't work is he's very machismo, and that doesn't work in this
also because it took so long to make that sequel, and I think they just kept some of the stuff as opposed to like, no, it's taking this long. Let's put some new ideas in here.
Right, but granted, his style of his comedy is very dated. It's like 90s.
Yeah.
Doom is coming out. I'm very excited. The trailer, it looks amazing. it showed that big nasty eye, little ball, little doodad thing. And you're just like, ugh.
Wanting to call it a beholder.
I want to call it the big trouble little China thing.
Which was a beholder.
It was creepy. It was creepy looking.
Yeah.
So Doom, ooh, nice trailer. I enjoyed it. It looks very awesome. Very, very, very awesome. All right, and the last bit of the news is
30 years of Pixar.
30 years.
They're old.
Don't say that.
You got a friend in me.
You got a friend in me? What?
You know, something that always bothered me, and if anyone out there has the answer to this question, please post it in the comments below. Between Toy Story 2 and 3, what happened to Woody's arm?
What do you mean?
Because at the end of 2, Andy fixes Woody's arm.
Right.
And it looks all mashed and pulpy, and he jokes that it looks like big and muscular. By the time Toy Story 3 comes out, it's back to normal.
Well,
And it's always bugged me. And you know, you can give me stupid, silly answers like, "Oh, they just fixed it." No, if Pixar addressed it somewhere, how that happened, please let me know, because that's always bugged me in my little nitpicky fanboy way.
they fixed it.
Oh, great, thanks. Where did they mention that? That's what I was asking, jerk.
The mom says it off screen.
Oh, okay.
The mom's boyfriend shows up. And he's like a seamstress. Is that what you want?
He's a seamster.
Oh, sorry.
Seamster.
In this day and age, you could be a seamstress. Is that really what bothered you between 2 and 3?
It bothered me.
Fair enough.
Because I thought it was funny. I was like, oh, I can't wait for the gags they can do with that. Nope.
What do you mean? What kind of gags? Just because you have one bigger arm than the other? It's a kid's movie, Dr. Bacon. It's a kid's movie.
It wasn't his forearm. It was his bicep. You're going dirty, not me.
I want to talk about what is your favorite Pixar movie?
I have two favorites because I can't pick between them. Ratatouille and The Incredibles.
It's a good one.
Yep.
Those are both great choices. Ratatouille surprised me. Patton Oswalt's amazing in that movie.
Oh, he's fantastic.
Fantastic. And you know what? Pixar has always have the notion of pulling the impossible out of nothing. Like in terms of a rat, literally a rat, cooking and becoming an owner of a restaurant. Spoiler alert. Anyway, but it's those are great choices. I love The Incredibles not only because its sound design is amazing, but the story itself of a family and the way it moves, and then you got Samuel Jackson in it as Frozone.
Where is my super suit?
It's a great story. I loved it, and that was my go-to movie to put on. Like, hey man, you want to check out my new surround sound? Check out this, man. This big, yeah, Circuit City. My Onkyo. No, that was those are good choices. I would have to say, hands down, Toy Story. Toy Story 1, the first one was by far my favorite one. The song, of course, is amazing, and the feeling of being replaced, and the feeling of finding friendship from places you weren't looking for. And I don't know, the biggest thing that affected me in that movie, and Pixar is really great at this, is when Buzz was like, no man, I could fly if I wanted to. I'm gonna fly out of this window. I got this. I'm Buzz Lightyear. I'm a spaceman. And he turns on his wings, and the Randy Newman, he's singing. Randy Newman is singing. He's like, and then like
a horrible Randy Newman.
No, it's not. It's fantastic. You get a friend to me.
No.
You get a friend to me. Timothy Big Boy. Yeah, baby. So Buzz is flying towards the window, like, and then he starts falling backwards, and you're like, no. And then he turns into Mrs. Nesbit, which is great.
Oh, I love that scene.
You see that? I am Mrs. Nesbit. That's great. I mean, and of course, that was my favorite. I mean, Cars is okay. I mean, Up had to give. I got to give a shout out to Up.
Up is right under.
Up is
Ratatouille.
I would say the first 15 minutes of Up.
Oh man,
is beautiful. That is filmmaking at its finest, and then it kind of goes into the tropes of a cartoon movie, which is still good.
Pixar does it well.
That 15 minutes is beyond. I mean, you could make a statement for WALL-E. WALL-E was. I mean, I really didn't get into WALL-E as much as the others. I mean, I liked it, but it wasn't like revolutionary for me as Toy Story was. Cars is okay. Cars wasn't my thing. I love the ride at Disneyland. It's California Adventure. It's amazing. Finding Nemo, Monsters Inc. was good. Monsters Inc. had Boo, and that was a good little hit in the heart there. Other than that, I can't really think of anything else besides all the sequels to those said movies.
You know what I'd like to say about Toy Story, or Toy Story 2 specifically? That big dance number at the end for...
yeah, the celebration.
Yeah. Who was it that covered You Got a Friend in Me?
It was Enrique?
No. I want to say a little Slobos, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't. Anyway, the big mariachi cover of You Got a Friend in Me.
Yeah, it was like...
If I ever get married and my fiance is up for it, I want to do that dance number as our dance.
I could do it.
Okay, let's get married.
You show your amigo me.
I hate you so.
Show amigo me. Ay. Menino.
I'm leaving.
Okay, fine. So that would be my favorite. That would be my favorite Pixar movie. Is that, and I guess I would give honorable mention to Inside Out, the one in the story.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about.
That's a good one.
It's
a good one.
I liked it, but I think that had the hype machine hit it for me, and I didn't like it as much as I wanted to.
I didn't see it in the movie theater.
It's not even in my top 5.
I forgot about it, and then I saw it. I rented it, and all I gotta say is Bing Bong, bro.
Yeah, Bing Bong was good.
Bing Bong
was a good addition for that movie.
Bing Bong is amazing. Who's the friend you like to play? Bing Bong, Bing. I can't handle it. Can't handle it. So that's going to wrap up your checkpoint, your weekly checkpoint of the week with all the little news. And we're going to move on to the final kind of closing wrap-up segments. And the next one is called The Next Level, where we talk about the upcoming movies and games that you guys should know about and keep an eye out for. Of course, there's a couple of things on the docket here, Dr. Bacon, that we like to talk about. First things first, Deadpool. Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool is finally coming out to the movie theater.
The right Deadpool.
The right Deadpool. Don't talk about X-Men Origins.
It doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist.
Nope, never happened.
I have to say, Deadpool's marketing is class.
Sancho, I got to tell you, what I think is great about their marketing department is so good, people don't realize they have a marketing team. Almost everything that's done, people are crediting to Ryan Reynolds because that's how well it's being done. Even though it's on his Twitter and his Instagram, people don't realize he's kind of busy doing the dockets for this movie to promote it. He doesn't have time to sit down and think, oh, how can I come with a witty response to can't wait for Skull Poople? No, he's got a marketing team either doing his account for him or emailing him like, hey, put this on your Twitter. They're doing a fantastic job. The trailers are great where they're showing you, we've got 5 trailers and they're almost all the same, which I'm okay with because they're not giving away all the best parts of the movie.
No, not at all. And I would have to say as well is that I was worried about seeing Deadpool and how is he going to look? Because then, Deadpool, you can't see his face, you can't see his mouth.
I think it's great CGI for that face.
It looks great.
Yeah.
It looks so much better than the Green Lantern. And I love that he's making fun of himself.
Yeah, I think it's great. It's a great testament to Ryan Reynolds.
Hopefully the hype machine does not blow this out of proportion. I think it's hitting the right notes.
Reviews are liking it so far.
Dr. Bacon and I will do a video or a podcast or a video on the Deadpool review when that hits on February 12th.
Full spoilers?
Full spoilers.
Nice, okay. I will not hold back.
We will do the full spoilers on Deadpool when it comes out. The other movie that it's for me, it's 10 years too late or so, Zoolander 2. Ben Stiller's Zoolander 2 hits as well, and I don't want to get too far into that. Thoughts on Zoolander?
I'm looking forward to it. I'm interested to see if they even acknowledge that he was married and had a kid at the end of the first one. Because it's fairly obvious neither his wife, who is also his real-life wife, nor their child are in the movie anywhere. And I'm wondering how they're going to handle that, whether it be a throwaway joke and it's handled well, or if it's just something that never existed. We're not going to mention it.
Hear me out.
I'm listening.
Listen to me on this one. Okay. This would have been better as a Netflix series.
You think so?
Absolutely. 6 to 8 mini series.
I don't know.
Just to capitalize, because
give a comparison. and I may be alone on this because I honestly didn't read it in a review, so I don't know what anyone else thought. Because you mentioned 10 Years Too Late, the series of Wet Hot American Summer.
Right.
I watched the first episode. That was it.
It's not that good. I give you that. I think it's weird.
And I for me, I think part of it was they were trying to stretch out what could have been a funny movie into several episodes, and it kind of became watered down.
For me, it's like, okay, I don't think Ben Stiller's Zoolander is. I feel like they should have did it immediately. I mean, you see the same thing with Dumb and Dumber 2. That was just atrocious. That was the style of comedy. I wanted to like it. I wanted to give them their dues. Jeff Daniels and Jim Carrey are fantastic. I love those guys, and the same directors and everything. The Farley brothers are on board. I thought it would be fantastic, but I don't know. We'll see.
You know what I think would be a great 10 or whatever many years later sequel would be. Speaking of Ben Stiller, I think we're at a great point where they can do a Mystery Men sequel.
Yes,
I think that would work.
I love Mystery Men.
Hear me, Hollywood. Bring back Mystery Men and put Flaming Carrot in there
and the Waffler.
The Waffler.
Yeah.
Waffleinator. I like Dane Cook.
Yeah.
A lot of people hate him.
He was good as the Waffler.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Oh man, and then Hank Azaria. Oh, I'm getting hyped for that movie. That was Guardians of the Galaxy before Guardians of the Galaxy was ever created, because those characters never existed, and you had Captain Amazing, and Captain Amazing got okay, I'm not gonna ruin that movie. Okay, go watch Mystery Man. In the video game space, here's your upcoming. We got 3 ones that we're going to talk about. First one comes from developer Campo Santo, and it's Firewatch. It's going to come up for about $20. It's going to be available on the PlayStation 4 and PC. In Firewatch, you play as a man named Henry, who has retreated from his messy life to work as a fire lookout in the Wyoming wilderness. Perched high atop a mountain, it's your job to look for smoke and keep the wilderness safe. And especially hot and dry summer has everyone on edge. Your supervisor, a woman named Delilah. Hey there, Delilah, is available to you at all times over a small handheld radio, and is your only contact with the world you left behind. But when something strange draws you out of your lookout tower into the world, you're exploring a wild and unknown environment, facing questions and making interpersonal choices that can build or destroy the only meaningful relationship you have. So that's exciting. I am enjoying that. I said this earlier in a previous Hey Yo, check this out, that I feel like as I'm getting older, I'm actually caring more about story. And I think I could credit that to the PlayStation Vita, because I'm actually focused. I'm playing it. I'm not really distracted because I can't be on the phone or something, because I'm actually,
Well, I also credit it to, games just getting better in general, that they kind of have to write something good to go with it.
Right. And so I've really enjoyed the Division story, and I'm really excited to play Firewatch. I want to play Gone Home, and I want to play Journey. So those are my things that I told myself as a gamer's resolution, that I want to get into more story, narrative-driven based games, and to give single-player experiences a chance to expand my repertoire. So that Firewatch is coming out soon, and we'll probably do some sort of a Let's Play of that together. Sounds good. Next one is Dying Light, The Following, which is the DLC expansion for the original Dying Light, and there is the full experience, and this comes from Techland. So there's a full game for $60. The little writing here says, is a significant expansion to Dying Light in the untold chapter of Kyle Crane's story. Take to the vast new area that will transform your Dying Light experience through new game mechanics, environments, and challenges on top of the established core of the game. So more and more of it.
So is it a sequel? Because you say it's a whole game.
Yeah, it's a whole experience. At first, Techland was like, no, this is included for the people who bought the season pass. But then they retracted, saying, no, this game is much more than it is. We're going to charge a little bit more. Sorry for the season pass holders. So,
are season pass holders going to at least get a discount?
I'm not sure. I try to read up articles on this.
And the reason I ask is because I bought Dying Light. I bought the season pass. I still haven't played it.
I'm not sure if you get a discount. I try to do as much preparation for that, for this little segment here. I couldn't find anything concrete, but for what I know, there is going to be a full flesh on the PlayStation Store right now. You could download for $60. The following, that's going to come out on Tuesday. You could buy that $60 experience, and there is a discounted version of it for you're just buying the DLC itself if you've already bought everything. So that's I'm not quite sure if I'm going to have time to play Dying Light, but if you're a fan of Dying Light, I heard it's one of the best games of 2015. It's really cool to see it continuing, and Dying Light, of course, killed out Dead Island 2. Then the last game that is coming up is Unravel from Cold World Interactive. It's a Swedish-based developer, and this is for $20, and it comes out on the PlayStation 4, Xbox, and PC. And here it says, Yarny's mission is to mend broken bonds, and the yarn represented the love and connection between people. The player will use Yarny's thread to do things such as swinging across gaps or rappelling down trees. The game will also challenge gamers to use thread in clever, creative ways. So it's like a platformer. You have your Yarny, which is this little yarn guy exploring.
Are there any trailers?
Yeah, it looks amazing. It's very beautiful. It's physics-based.
Since you've seen it, do you see any similarities between this and...
Little Big Planet?
No. Yoshi's...
Woolly World?
Yeah.
No, it's completely different.
Okay.
Yoshi's Woolly World's more Nintendo-based, like more Nintendo-friendly mechanics. This is different.
Okay, no, because I was asking because of the whole yarn bit and how the new Yoshi game and Kirby went with that whole yarn idea.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is more or less than the aesthetic. The only character is Yarny is made out of yarn, and as he runs, he starts unspooling himself or unraveling, and he's going, and you could use that yarn to like hook onto things, rappel, build bridges. So it's more of like a puzzle game versus like a platformer where things hit you. So you're going to come across areas like, how do I get here? Oh, you can move this thing, and it's a little bit physics-based, and there's a little magic into it. It's very whimsical, and it's supposed to be very beautiful. It's much more platforming at a slower pace. I wouldn't say like there's like death around every corner from what I've seen so far. It's supposed to be a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more casual. I hate that word. Casual.
I'm okay with that.
Okay, big guy.
Casual.
Okay, big guy. All right. In the next segment, we're going to go ahead and talk about what we've been playing, what we've been watching, so that way we could go ahead and let us know in the comments if you're going to get on any of those games. Again, we're going to most likely play Firewatch for you guys. Like I said, I played The Division, but I've been really getting engrossed in the PlayStation Vita, playing Rogue Legacy. I played a lot of Nuclear Throne, games that I could just pick up for a little bit and drop. I really did like The Division. Excited for the story. Multiplayer, not so much. But I've been playing that, and of course, I've been playing a lot of Rainbow Six Siege. What I've been watching? What did I watch lately?
The boring Super Bowl.
That was pretty boring. I did watch. We are recording this Sunday after the Super Bowl. I did watch American Sniper for the first time. That was pretty cool to see. That stories. But what about you? What have you been playing? I know you've been moving, so you know.
Yeah, since I've been moving, and when I play video games, I play for a long time. I'm not good at playing for a little bit and putting it down, so I have not played any games. Like Sancho said, I just moved out to LA. I've been here for about 2 weeks now, but I do still make time to watch things, and I've been watching Young Justice on Netflix, or re-watching, I should say. I don't know if it'll make a difference. But there was an article released recently. Basically, the guy was like, hey, if you want a season 3, check it out on Netflix. Give us some stars. Make people know you're still interested in it. So I recommend it. Check it out. Give it 5 stars because it's totally worth it. Young Justice.
Young Justice. And here's the last segment, which is called The Old Save, where we talk about recommendations for the week, for the upcoming week. I would definitely... Now, this is things, Dr. Bacon, I really didn't talk to you about this in detail. But this is things like... We could talk about whatever. Like you just said, you recommend Young Justice to people, and then we could recommend a game. We could recommend an old movie for people to watch, something that's attainable that you could watch out there. I would say do yourself a favor and watch The Professional. That would be my assignments for you guys. If you haven't seen it yet, it stars Jean Reno, Natalie Portman at a young age, Gary Oldman. It's a film directed by Luc Besson. Great movie. It's one of these movies that I would watch at least 3 to 4 times a month when it was on DVD. When I had a DVD player, I would watch Family Guy, those box sets, and I would watch Leon the Professional. So check it out, Luc Besson. It's the same director, for those of you who want to know, of Taken. It's the same guy who did Taken, same guy who did The Fifth Element, all those kinds of things. You would love The Professional. If you haven't seen it, let me know what you think about it. If you can get your hands on the unrated version, that's a great version because you get to see a little bit more of the story and the characters, but all across the board, it's a great movie, and it made me love Jean Reno as an actor. He's a great French actor. He hasn't really done that much action. He did do Ronin, which is a great movie with Robert De Niro. It's a great movie with Robert De Niro. That's a fantastic movie. You would love it. So, that is my recommendation of the week. Let me know what you think of The Professional. It should be on Netflix.
My recommendation, I'm going to go into books here. It's a series from a great author by the name of Peter Clines. He's my favorite author. X Heroes is the name of this series as well as the name of the first book. It's basically what if zombies and superheroes happened at the same time and there was a world outbreak. And the first book actually goes into how and why they happened at the same time. Great series. The fifth book, Exile, just came out last week, and I finished it earlier today. Great book. I can't recommend it enough. I gotta be honest. Next time we do this, I'll probably recommend it again. Yeah, I like it that much.
You like the good old double dip.
Yeah.
Okay.
If any of you folks have read it, comment. I want to hear from other people who have read it, because I only have a handful of friends who have read this series. Because Sancho here, he doesn't like reading books. He doesn't like using his eyeballs to read print. He likes them for video games and moving images.
I never learned how to read. All right, guys, that's gonna wrap up this portion of Checkpoint. I pointed at him.
He pointed? He pointed at me? Oh, I wasn't ready for that.
Checkpoint
Amigos!
Checkpoint Amigos, your weekly checkpoint save on your nerdy lives. If you have any comments on anything we talked about, please discuss them in a civil manner down below. And if you have any questions, you use the hashtag #AskAmigos. That way we get to bring you guys, because this is going to be our best weekly.
We'll try to answer your questions each week.
We'll try to answer them. We'll try to put them in, because there's going to be slow days in news, and there's going to be some things where maybe we don't have a topic. And that's why you can help us out. Again, this is thanks to your guys' support. We really do appreciate it. If you're listening on the SoundCloud, we're gonna have another one, and then we're gonna recycle them out. So make sure you download them. If you're watching on YouTube, again, we're gonna have a more video based, where you get to see our pretty faces and whatnot. But baby steps.
Make sure to like, share, and subscribe.
Yes. Yeah, like, share, and subscribe. Again, little baby steps along the way. But for myself, SanchoWest, and Dr. Bacon, thank you so much for spending time with us, and we'll see you at the next checkpoint. All right, guys, we'll see you guys later. Adios. Bye.
Oh, yeah.
It's my line.
I know, but you didn't say it. Damn. Yeah, but I say it better.
You got a friend in me.